Here we are, ready for the final game of the week 9 of the Quake Pro League. This is what it's all been building up to, of course, rapha versus cha1n, and then after this, we're going to know how things are standing at the end of the penultimate week, Zoo, which is going to be crazy for standings and seedings.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. That's where we're going to finally get we're going to get that sort of proper early snapshot of what Luca's going to end up looking like, and I'm sure people at home can start tweaking brackets to understand, if players going to go here, what kind of matchups can we expect, and things like that. Would be something really cool to actually to analyze. But yeah, we've somehow got to surpass the hype that we just had in Nosfer and Waz, especially on the Molten game that we just had. Are we going to be able to take it to the next level? I think it's less about what rapha's able to do, but more about what is cha1n going to be able to do. Can he step it up and give us a peak performance and bring it?
Yeah, well, hopefully so. Let's start things off with rapha, of course, because all of you guys are familiar with him. The Professor, really the legend is the accurate name for him, as he is so well versed when it comes to living, breathing, and just being basically an entity of Quake. This man has done everything there is to do. He has all the achievements, all the accolades, and he still looks damn good whilst doing it, Zoo.
And everything he does still ends up looking super impressive, even though you expect him to come out on top. The manner in which he does it is always just mind-blowing.
It's good. It's good stuff, right? You know, rapha is one of a kind, really, when you think about it.
No, he is. He's someone I think a lot of esports communities, they maybe have someone like it that they can resemble. And our guy rapha in Quake is someone that, his accolades echo around the industry anyway. And it's truly remarkable what he's been able to achieve. And I'm certainly seeing him as a favorite going into Luca.
Oh, yeah. I think that goes without saying at this point, right? Like, most people are going to have their gaze on him.
Anyway.
Oh, you might as well.
Right?
You might as well.
Say it.
Sorry,
Jesus.
Dad.
Speak
All
out
right.
loud. Because I want to say it, because otherwise I'm going to get some crap from people watching for not saying it, because I have doubted him in the past. So that's to you guys. All right.
Wow, there you go.
Sorry,
strong words from Zoo.
But because Kilson might be watching, I also think he's a favourite. Because I've got two favourites.
So he's pandering now. He's pandering. What are your thoughts on cha1n?
Well, he's not a favourite.
Roll the cha1n video.
But I think he's actually someone of spectacular talent. He's got the best frag of the entire QPL so far with the double mid-air he got on Dramis. He's someone who we're kind of waiting to, I think, really peak in performance. I still don't think I've seen the best from cha1n. I've seen so many individual elements of his gameplay that has been so impressive. And I think when he can finally piece it all together in a beautiful map, then I think, why the hell not? Is he not taking more maps away from people like rapha?
Well, this might actually be an opportunity, a springboard perhaps, for him to show that he can do that, and that is something that is coming up in the near future. You know, if there was ever a time to show it, this would be it.
It's true. I mean, it's always down to the grind that you put in, sort of self-reflection you have on your games, and also building up that experience in general, building up your confidence too. I talk about confidence a lot, and I think it's a very important element of the game, because that's going to make you believe in the game plan that you've been strategizing about. And if you don't do it, you start, horrific things happen. I think I go back to PGL 2018 when he had Wenger, who on paper's got these great talents, but he didn't have that self-belief at that time. And he ends up playing a game style that he didn't prepare. So we saw him kind of bottoming out in the end. When you start believing in yourself and you've got it together with the work that you're putting in, that's when you start seeing those standout performances. And that's when you start developing yourself as a sort of dark horse or a favorite or crowd favorite.
No, that's literally one of the most fundamental things about it. Like in a lot of esports, but especially games like Quake, it's the idea that being able to break your opponent's mentality and leave them in a state where they're second-guessing themselves, they don't have the confidence to go to plays, literally completely change the landscape. It's so much of a mental game, where if you can get inside their heads, or you yourself just have the confidence to make these ridiculous plays, you're going to do way better than you would have done beforehand.
Yeah, completely. And I hope for cha1n's sake that he's able to believe in himself, because because I think he's very mechanically talented. I think his strategy's top level. It's all about it all coming into place in once. Who knows? We could have some unbelievable things happening in just a few short moments. But I do have to side with rapha on this. I think we're going to have like a 3-0, but with a really close map somewhere in there. But what I hope to see is cha1n bringing it on all 3 maps and giving us something that we're not
Just at least keeping it close and competitive.
Yes, as often as possible. But the thing is, for a lot of the players in North America and those in Americas in general, it's very difficult to keep up with the pace of thought that rapha has for that full 10 minutes. So you start off by playing a minute for as good as rapha. You start off then 2 minutes and then 3 minutes. But it's very difficult to sort of play for 6-7 minutes plus, thinking at that pace that rapha delivers, where he has that fluency for an entire timeline of a game.
Yeah, it's hard stuff. It's hard to anti-strat him because he approaches every player so differently and changes on the fly. Let's get into the vetoes, though, as these cannot change. They are locked down and set in stone. Now, straight off the back, the one I want to highlight coming into this, Vale, we have a DK pick.
Hashtag big DK energy.
Hashtag big DK energy.
Sorry, I wanted to be the one to say
Get it out there. Get it out there. Get those big DKs in the chat.
Absolutely. DK is a champion that I'm always skeptical about, apart from when rapha's playing.
Agreed. Yeah.
That's the only condition of me having confidence in the champion, because rapha is the master of DK, and he can make it work, and Vale is the map that he makes it work the best. It is cha1n's map pick. I'm sure he's still going to be feeling good there. I think range is a sound pick. But looking before and after, we've got a Visor versus Galena on Bruins. I think that's a very classic matchup. And we've got a Slash versus Doom. Not as classic, but definitely both sharing similarities with their mobility. It's going to be interesting to see how cha1n looks to shut down the movement that rapha has.
Yeah, like Visor versus Galena in itself at this point has just become so historic and expected that, you know, that one to me opening it up, honestly, I feel like if there is an opportunity to come in with a good start into the series, that's where cha1n might actually have a few chances. Galena's a very good champion for that. rapha's Visor, on the other hand, is always going to be scary.
Do you think rapha's going to be good at killing totems?
Yes,
yeah,
quite good.
Probably going to be pretty decent at
it.
See, that's where cha1n's going to have to get fairly creative, I think, and figure out how he's going to do it. Combat totems are something that are becoming less and less viable, and to make Galena effective, you really need to be finding those hidden spots on the map where it's awkward for your opponent to take a moment out to go to that route and clear them. So let's see. It begins here, our final series of the day in week 9 of the QPL. We've got rapha versus cha1n, and we are starting on our man, the Professor.
Already looking to try and get the early entry on the board. Finds himself a collection of weapons. Ooh, he's just going to be waiting.
Hello.
With a heightened angle as he gets the shot down with the railgun. I thought Lethal had joined the cast for a second there.
This just possessed me for a second. Oh, that was close. That's a fantastic rocket from cha1n. It's going to lock out rapha from the heavy. And cha1n's going to get those much needed energy armor. It's not energy armor, but it's giving him energy. Shut up. I don't want to hear any of it.
Okay. Sorry. Oof. A near miss with a rail as it whizzes by in front of the eyes of rapha there. Here we go. LG starting to initiate. The totems are going down, but they're not really surviving for very long. Rapha, within an inch of his life here, pops the visor. The explosion is so close to him, but he luckily gets away. The rail as well, slamming down onto cha1n. cha1n, he should be the one that's favored right now. Eventually gets their kill, but it took so long.
He was so careful with that last rail. Oh my god. If his rails start hitting, he's going to be very, very scary, but they've got to be basically perfect. Can he hold on to this area? I mean, getting himself that extra totem wouldn't be bad at all. Found a little bit of ammo. No LG, but he's going to straight rocket jump up. Oh, those nails. Oh my god, that hurts. rapha's just finding damage in the most annoying places for cha1n, and it's making him really anxious, I think, about pushing into certain items or holding certain items. But then cha1n's coming out and eventually hitting a rail, and that's suddenly making rapha have to reconsider his options for a few brief moments. But no heavy we're going to get for cha1n. cha1n's going to be off somewhere else, hoping for this light, but the light doesn't spawn till after the heavy pickup, so it's not really worth hanging around there.
He has no LG ammo left to play with. It's just the rail that he's focusing on here to try and be a bit of a stopping force. Does slow down rapha and put him into a worse position, connecting multiple rails time after time. cha1n, he's looking strong right now when it comes to his actual aiming.
cha1n is kind of playing himself off of major items. He can't get down to heavy. It's too awkward for him. And holding on to Mega with rapha's heavy stack is also very, very difficult. You can see that rapha's just trying to get himself everywhere. He's using nails though, which isn't necessarily optimal from that range, but he's got the LG to rail. And that's a scary combination. We're 1 for 1, 3 minutes in. cha1n still trying to keep up with the kind of control rapha has.
This is the visor. cha1n gonna drop straight into him. An awkward near miss on the follow-up, but the LG straight down from above will be the killer.
That was a nasty angle there. Insane damage from rapha. He's going to be in late for mega health, but what does it matter when cha1n's nowhere near? And cha1n not being able to attack the major items a lot has been a big hindrance for him. He's needed to find some more exit damage previously. He's not played it bad at all, but it just shows the kind of level of pressure you have to have sometimes. 2 picture-perfect rockets, gonna secure 1 more kill for rapha.
There goes the deep dive push in from rapha. Switches back out. Over to the rail. Doesn't want to commit to it though. Instead, just pepper spraying around with those nails, trying to distribute them nice and evenly and really strike fear into the heart of cha1n. Both of them with such an awkward firefight here. rapha not going for the instant pickup on the Mega as well, throwing a really bit of an awkward spanner into the timing now with the respawn on it. Does transfer the heavy over as he will trade it. Couldn't pick it up, but still gets the kill.
Really nasty for cha1n. I don't even know if it's worth taking that. Oh god,
wow.
That hurt so much. And you see cha1n was kind of keeping up with rapha for about 3 minutes, and now it's become really, really hard. He needs to find a semblance of control soon. He just throws away a totem, gets nothing for it. There's going to be mega health going to rapha, and it's, you know, the nightmare continues, right?
I suppose the nightmare begins anew, fresh at this point, as rapha just looks revitalized. It's when you kind of let him get into this true form of himself, does a bit of a werewolf dance, and then the claws come out, and he's just unbeatable, right?
I mean, there's, I think, a lot of kind of analogies of fearful creatures that I would attribute to rapha. I think the guy is super scary.
Like the mighty porpoise.
But he's a beautiful guy, you know, in person.
And on the server.
Yeah, and he just seems so friendly until you're playing against him.
That's when he turns into the mighty cobra.
You okay? Demonic dragonfly. What else is it?
Was that? Is that? Oh god! Oh no! Don't do that to me, Zoo. Not now. Come on. That's not appropriate.
Well, rapha's control is not really stopped the entire time. And he's going to have the heavy soon. The rotations seem a little bit too easy for him, and I think cha1n's really just tried to stabilize himself. He's like, right, we're 7-1, let's not make it 14-1. Let's make sure that we get a point in the game within the next minute to 2 minutes where we're back in control and we can at least show rapha, you know, what our hand looks like, you know, when our cards are good.
Yeah, start swatting that dragonfly. As he will be knocked back though. rapha going to attempt to reposition here, uses the piercing sight, has a good idea of where he is. So many tags connecting. cha1n really going to be limping around at this point, as he doesn't have much HP to play with. That's the heavy conceded as well, as rapha will be able to gobble that one up, and now starts to push out. He has a ton of HP. If he wants to here, he'll probably find the frag, and also get a free pickup on the Mega, as he can rotate over. The timing doesn't work in the favor of cha1n either. rapha's still looking to get more kills though, and he is leaving them within an inch of his life.
He's so clean with his rail aim too. I mean, his mechanics have just been looking fantastic today. And a nice little casual switch to the rockets. He didn't even need to do that. Could have just cracked on with the LG. And he's just really inspecting that piece of map. Oh no, here we go. We're good. We're reset. Everything's fine. Nothing lost.
Was the ZSX there? He's changing mouse.
I don't know what happened there. cha1n was keep going, but he's not going to want to keep going soon because everything hurts. His entire body is falling to pieces. And he's going to need to pick himself up, I think, moving on to the next map.
Yeah, this is like the rapha show now. This is where he's in full control, and there's just nothing you can do to try and break that.
And cha1n actually had the better start. He got the early frag, but as soon as you make any decisions, like, oh, I think I'm like 70% to win this fight, that's not enough versus rapha. Like 90% is not enough. And that's generally how rapha used to play the game at the highest level in Quake Live. Was he was known as an incredibly defensive and passive player because he would only ever commit to fights when he would calculate in his head that he had at least a 90% chance of winning it. And that's part of what led us to such an epic fight between him and Evil, because they'd both optimized themselves in that kind of way. And some of those things that carry on, that rapha still has those tendencies. But why you see him getting these results versus someone like cha1n is because cha1n's taking bigger risks when the rewards necessarily don't justify it.
rapha, still the blade of Evil's bane at this point. He's able to roam around and do even more damage. cha1n left tremendously low, jumps onto a rocket, the rail barely missing. His saving grace there, that would have been an 11th kill racked up for rapha. We're coming up to the 9-minute mark though, and the LG will still get the job done.
Such hard shots to hit though in those instances. To try and clean up a kill like that, that's hard work. Brilliant drive-by rail from rapha. He might be able to close down another soon. Oh, the rocket looking for mid-air. He's not going to get the full cha1n combo, but he's made it 12-1 at least. Oh, his LG, just as he sinks in, it's like while he's in the air, that's when his LG's the strongest. cha1n will get the kill, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't change the outcome of this one. Which at the end of the day is going to be the most important factor. And rapha is straight back into it. Wanted to be commanding as ever, of course, on his way to closing down the opening map here, and he's been doing so.
cha1n's never really gotten set up with the totems. Okay, I want to say that rapha's been killing totems, but I don't think he's been like the totem hunter, right? He hasn't had his totem hunting goggles on and been completely at it. I feel like cha1n possibly could have been a bit better with his totem placement.
It's been kind of rough because in a lot of the fights where rapha's actually got the kill, cha1n's totem's just come up, and he's kind of panic placed it, and then obviously you get nothing from that.
Yeah, that definitely happened a couple of times. But GG there, rapha, dominant victory on Ruins. He's hitting 40 pluses of virtually everything that matters there of the trifecta. And yeah, he's going to be looking good going towards map 2.
Yeah, well, a very, very strong start from rapha. Pretty much what we'd normally kind of expect from him there. But, you know, the first few minutes of the game were interesting because it was an insight into what cha1n can do as a player. Then he started taking more risks and he started going for these quite bold and brash plays that just did not pay off when you've got rapha on the receiving end of them.
You need to approach rapha as if he's a bot, basically. As if he's someone who's just going to hit everything and that they're always going to be in an area where you feel most weak. And I think sometimes cha1n is feeling, well, if I just exceed my standard aiming by 20%, then this is going to be good for me. But you've got to approach your strategy a lot of the time as if you're not going to hit those shots. You only assume you're going to hit stuff when you're in a clutch situation and when you're forced to and you have no choice, when you have to make that comeback or whatever. When you're not making a comeback and you're just trying to like ride through the game a bit, stabilize, keep control, you don't need that, especially when you've got a lead, for instance.
No, it didn't work out the way he wanted it to. It was taken away from him quite commandingly by rapha. And it does set up the scene for this to potentially be the 3-0 for rapha. What he would like to walk away with, as he is currently the only man in QPL that hasn't dropped a series, and he's not going to want to let that streak end anytime soon.
Completely. We do get to our big DK energy in just a moment. DK is coming right up on Vale, going up versus the Ranger of cha1n, and we can see what is the business going to be there. I certainly think this is a more volatile map in terms of if cha1n can get that early control, he might be able to transition or to convert a few frags a bit more easily. But the pace is going to be amped up from rapha, so those instinctive reads, quick moves are going to be even more relentless.
Yeah, well, it's going to be really quite rough, right? Rapha on DK, when he's feeling himself and he's allowed to do whatever he wants, he kind of just wrecks face in ways that shouldn't happen, but he gets away with fairly easily. It's crazy stuff. I mean, if you can put a stop to it, you should be able to start to find your footing there. If this was going to be a map for cha1n to take, obviously the DK pick could be one that throws a spanner in the works. But who knows? It's rapha's DK.
Yeah, I mean, if you play the stats, then cha1n's certainly the favorite, but then you look at rapha being there, and it's
it just doesn't back it up.
Yeah. Let's get ourselves into game, though. Map 2 is beginning here in this final series of the day. And we have got rapha with DK on screen now. LG into rail. He has a whole bunch of armor and certainly a desire to destroy some Canadians.
Well, no king rules forever, Zook. Let's see what rapha can get up to here on the DK, as he is going to be looking to try and slay tonight. Let's see if he can leave cha1n slap down on the DECK. Has the high ground, going to be firing off the warning rocket, will tag and start to roam.
Drop down, but through the teleporter, doesn't really take much damage for that. cha1n's stack looking okay. Can he track down where rapha is? Has he got a feeling? No, does not realize he's there. So rapha's going to be able to reposition himself. A little bit of sneaky beaky. And boy, that's like 100 damage.
Wow.
Basically 200 damage. There's the rail, and there's going to be full control of the map. The game is hard from minute 2.
rapha. So sublime. As a way to start things, just incredible stuff. And now he's looking for even more, as he'll get back again over near cha1n. Takes a ton of damage. The Dire Orb on the entry works out well. cha1n, with like 8 HP, gets that kill.
Oh my god, he gets out of there in time. He might be able to rocket jump up and get himself over towards the Mega. Does well of that. Has LG on the exit. These rockets from rapha, he hits 2 perfect ones, looking for the rail shot. 2 health to go. And cha1n backs the hell away. That's a nice play from cha1n to move back over towards rockets, get himself some extra health there. Has he got a light? He does. His stack is actually looking not bad at all. Has the high ground and knows exactly where rapha is. There are flames hurting. Oh, he gets himself the rocket on the teleporter. And he's got himself a lead. cha1n has done fantastically well. Considering how good a start rapha had, this is a great recovery.
Yeah, this is strong. A 1 frag lead, cancels out the damage over time. This is where it might get a bit awkward though, but no! The Dire Orb, as he will split rapha in pieces from the inside out.
5 seconds till the heavy's up. This is a great opportunity for cha1n to continue his control. But he's lost faith on that. I really felt that he needed to defend that position. Instead, he's going to go over towards the Mega. 1 rocket's good. Follow-up's not quite there, and he's just taken a vertical rail, and he risks it for the repeak. It's not worth it. cha1n gave way too much respect in this entire rotation of items. And I think the big mistake was where he didn't challenge for heavy. I think at Mega, he had already lost the situation. Heavy was, yeah, just brutal. And he walks towards rapha, decides he doesn't want to be there, but it's too late. You've already run into the angry bouncer, and your legs aren't strong enough.
It's also...
Oh god. Go down again. One more time. Go into the gauntlet. Gauntlet. Oh, rapha got a little bit cocky there, and he didn't finish off the job.
Oh no, the shotgun though, as he drops down. He was looking to try and punish him from point blank. Looking for the backstab, as he will have the drop on the opposition here. It ends in a stalemate, but they're still at 3 of 3.
That's actually something that you rarely see from rapha. One thing that's part of his his Bible of Quake is to never make moves like that. That's one of the most cocky things I think I've ever seen rapha do. I'm not saying it's the most cocky thing ever. It's really not. But it's out of the usual. So I think he's going to be focused extra hard now to not do something like this, to really kind of make a point to himself, not to anybody else.
We're coming up close to the halfway point of the map. Rapha with a rail gets the connection across onto cha1n, leaves him very low as he'll drop down on top of him. Dire Orb comes through, but there's the DK fire to try and ignite cha1n. Shotgun in hand, but it's the transition back to the rail that will leave him lifeless on the ground.
What a shot. And his control's getting mighty. He's going to find cha1n again. He's like, you're still up there, buddy? There's a lot of rail damage from cha1n, in fairness. That was great work from him. Rapha's going to try and settle down a little bit. Getting the heavy is actually going to be a nuisance. Trying to figure out where exactly is cha1n. Gets the rail shot off. And because cha1n's pushed over there... Wait, there's actually a chance for him to mess things up on the heavy armor, but cha1n actually made that fight so random, seemingly, just in terms of how the positions ended up. He ended up Goomba stomping Rapha. So a little bit of frazzling there, I think, for our Americans. Oh, that's the fire damage, man. The fire kept ticking down, and it allowed the rail to be usable in order to get the last blow. That's really frustrating for cha1n, because overall he was very, very solid, but couldn't land the closing shots off to get the kill.
Rapha getting these tags across. Ooh, left down incredibly low though. 60 HP after he's able to stabilize himself. cha1n will find the kill and blow him to bits with a rocket. 2 frags between them. We're coming up to 6 minutes. This is very easily doable if we can try and maintain this level of confidence. The fights here are working out well as Rapha is exposing himself in a few of these plays. However, the fire is going to be such an awkward position to play from, but he still gets the kill. The rocket will land onto Rapha and leave him dead on the ground.
That rocket was brilliant. Rapha was looking for a way out, but he just couldn't seem to dodge away from it. There's a great rotation at the moment for cha1n. If he can keep this going, he gets one fantastic rocket. He's looking to follow up, but he doesn't need to commit to this position. You've got so much time. What's important is that you continue that control. Oh, that drop. I don't think he expected that. Rapha was really messing around with his speed, but cha1n reads through it, adapts, and secures another. And he's pressuring Rapha again. This is brilliant play from him. He doesn't totally lock down where Rapha is, but he has done a ton of damage. And there's the Mega coming up in a second. Straight over into light and to heavy. He's looking for ammo. This is kind of sketchy because Rapha could go for a steal, but I think suddenly he's just bought Rapha's respect. Rapha might want to change the pace now a lot.
An awkward fight between them both. Rapha, though, when he eventually does expose himself and go for the peak round, everything hits. The rail was sublime. The tags were just tagging up as well, as cha1n's able to just light up the skies here on the peeks through. Gets himself back up into a heightened angle. That's going to be the heavy picked up. He's landing some really beautiful shots. The aggression with the Dire Orb and the tag from the LG. It was so precise. Luckily, he grabs a bubble as well to keep himself alive, Zoo.
That's an insane amount of damage that Rapha did, and that was not expecting quite that level. This is really difficult for cha1n. He's in very, very big trouble. Rapha knows that he's weak, and he knows exactly when the Mega Health timing is. cha1n had to get out of there, and committing to, I think it was a rail that hit him, and leaving himself exposed to that was really, really bad. With 2 minutes left, Rapha in full control, and some weapons, cha1n's going to have to be stunning now to slow him down. And he's on Mega for some reason. This is a strange position to have, considering how much time there is until the item's up. There is an orb. He can get close, and he is just going to get that full DPS burst, baiting Rapha into wanting to fight him. Rapha goes forwards and rockets, but he's probably going to die here. Is this going to be leading towards a map win for cha1n? He is well on his way to this, on a map so many people have struggled to play versus him. Oh my god, there was an angle there for a second. Smart thing is for cha1n not to commit to this, but he finds a small window of opportunity to go over for it. He reads it very, very well.
Rapha might have just left himself up a creek without a paddle at this point.
1 minute.
As cha1n is in such a commanding position. There's 60 seconds left. Rapha would need frag after frag, and I just don't think it's achievable. cha1n, all he's got to do is survive. He's trying his best to keep Rapha at arm's length here as he's up on top of a pole, grabs himself the heavy, and now starts the chase. Busts through the door, waving the 4-4, hoping to get the connection, but instead, he's just pushed back.
I love what we're getting from cha1n this game. Can he do his own little victory lap? He seems so much more confident now. The reason is like, I know I can get this map win. He's suddenly just making these great plays that I think otherwise he would normally be a little bit scared to do versus Rapha. But things are connecting for him. It's working out. It's mathematically impossible for Rapha to make the comeback. Ladies and gents, cha1n is tying things up versus Rapha after what was a pretty disastrous map 1. A staggeringly good map 2 for cha1n.
Yeah, that's crazy. He actually is able to bring it back and lock it down in the end there, 13-9. The DK pick that normally looks dominant from Rapha, this time around actually showing its signs of mortality.
I'm going to say something that I don't think I've ever said about Rapha in all my years of casting. He lost that map because of cockiness. In that one instance, if he gets that kill of the bounce pad, that can change everything, because cha1n didn't die for, I think, a fair amount of time after that. He wanted to close it out by going up close, up the bounce pad, wanted to get that shotgun blast. He missed that chance for it, and it was immensely costly. And that gets you in the wrong mindset as well. The fact that you know you've let that slip, it's like a big frustration that you've got to take a moment, which sometimes you can't take when you're in the midst of a fast game like Vale. And obviously there's a lot of really positive things I can say about cha1n. He definitely earned the win on that. But I really think that was a critical mistake from Rapha. You know, there's good plays and there's mistakes that always happen to both players.
Yeah, cha1n though, he is going to be very happy with the result there on Vale as he does close it down in the end. He looked pretty dominant in some of those fights, which is a massive step up. We know this young gun has so much talent within himself, and for him to actually let it all out and get us a moment to just revel in it and witness it, incredible.
Yeah, I'm still kind of stunned, actually. I think there was a lot of the all plays too that Rapha maybe didn't necessarily respect enough, or he kind of made this like calculation of it's very unlikely that he's going to hit the full DPS with this, and yet cha1n's execution was really, really good. Maybe again some high risk plays, but in a map like Vale, those risky plays are almost forced to happen more often based on just the size of the map itself.
cha1n, your victor here though on map 2, meaning this time it's going to be a decider on the third map of the series, Zook.
Can he take another? Can he?
I don't know. Like map 3, it's definitely going to be a rough one. It's a tough affair. What are the picks and bans we have on that again, Zook?
I'm taking a very quick look now for us. We are looking at Slash going versus Doom over on Blood Covenant.
Okay.
It's an interesting matchup, execution heavy for Rapha. I think cha1n's going to have a little more room to play with, but it's very much how he's able to stop the movement, sort of make those blocks of the rockets, and also how he's going to fare up versus the rail of Rapha. And I think that cha1n's best weapon is his railgun. So if this can be one of those days where he's hitting the shots he needs to, there's definitely a world where he wins this. I've been very impressed from him in map 2. And if he can hold it together, because you get kind of like fueled with adrenaline after you get wins like that off people who are most people's heroes in this game, right? So when you get the W there, can you keep it together for another map and turn it into a series win? That's where you turn yourself from not just a competitor, but someone who can become a victor. In full events.
Yeah, well, it's one of those you've got to be able to keep your composure, right, and just go into it still with that level of confidence or motivation of a big win, but not let it overthrow you or potentially catch you off guard a little bit and leave you in an awkward state. But time will tell, as we're going to be looking into the third and final map here. This is it, the decider of the series. Rapha, is he mortal, or will cha1n feel his wrath?
Wouldn't it be funny, though? Wenger and Rapha both lose their first match on the same day.
Yeah.
That would be...
That's a storyline. Yeah.
Weirdly poetic. And, well, this dodge is really frustrating rapha because he can't seem to hit the rails that he's looking for, and cha1n's maintaining that stack for a long time. Even with that rail landing, that's very frustrating. Great move from rapha to get across. Lands a rail. rapha eyeing up that mega health, but cha1n looks like he's more on the heavy side of the map. It's got to be quick because cha1n's picked it up, but he still hasn't got out of there yet. Ooh. So much speed from rapha.
Rockets raining down, whizzing by cha1n. Wow. So close to actually getting the pick onto rapha, but he is going to be the one to claim first blood in the end there. The LG taking down cha1n, but the instant trade comes back through.
That was such a cool trap from cha1n. He was being really, really quiet. And rapha stood still and waited for the sound cues to see. He didn't hear anything, so he was like, okay, the coast is clear. And cha1n kind of expected that and played against it. Very, very cool play from cha1n. And I think it's going to teach rapha to be not so assumptive in those situations now. So how that's going to change the game from now on, we're going to have to see. What a rail shot, though, from cha1n.
cha1n holding out, looking to try and figure out exactly where rapha is at this point, going back over towards the pillars as they fight for control of the mega. rapha will pick it up after taking all of that face damage from the rail. They split on the pickups though, as cha1n will also get the heavy. Starts to put himself back into a higher angle. Nearly connects the shot with the rail, but it won't quite make it out.
Has found his opponent. Watching out for the tribal. That spelled disaster right at the beginning of Vale for cha1n. Doesn't want to experience the same misfortune. He's got to try and get away from this. He knows he's got to give up the heavy. Makes it away in time. There is... other items on the floor. rapha's actually going to play across, and we're going to go back over to the controls that we had before. And cha1n's going to get out of heavy area just in time. cha1n's having to play so cautiously, knowing how fast rapha can be around the map.
cha1n taking shots to the back there from rapha. Now, it's the ultimate commit. As the speed comes around the corner, the LG will zap him up. The predictive spawn this time actually works out, as he will get the early tag across, at least doing some kind of damage onto cha1n.
That's going to be a mega pickup, actually. rapha misses the rail. Oh, he does hit a good one. And cha1n trying to switch it up a little bit. He's so low on health. rapha going for a quick flick, but we'll be able to sustain some control for a little longer while cha1n licks his wounds.
rapha, he got the heavy. He now starts to initiate once again. He has been an absolute speed demon. Oh, and that is a spectacular way to deal with your opposition.
Straight through, hitting a wonderful mid-air. Does spot out cha1n, who needs to find a way to get himself back onto the weapons. Heavy's up in a second. cha1n using this moment to get himself the rockets. Has he had a chance to get rail yet? I'm not entirely sure. He's trying to hit some... Oh my god, the damage that rapha's doing. Eventually gets the lightning gun out again, but cha1n's equalized the stacks right off the spawn. And he's got a good route over from rockets over to rail. And he's even landing some of these. It's so dangerous to go through these choke points. He hits a direct somehow. That could be infuriating for rapha. There's no weapons for rapha at all. He's taken the heavy, but he's walked right into his hands. Rocket's gonna work out. cha1n making a small comeback, but there is a lot of work to be done. He's covering the LG area early on, and now he knows that rocket's up at the top, trying to block the way over to rail, but rapha not going in too hard on that.
He was able to sit pretty and just soak up some of that blood to replenish himself, then moves over, grabs the light. Now he's getting tags across to remove any type of armor from Rapha, and now trying to remove the life from his body. But Rapha, the tri-bolt clutch of a century as he denies the kill, keeps himself alive, commits for even more, and that is the trail follow-up onto cha1n. It looked like cha1n was starting to find his footing, but now his feet are gone.
That was savage. Both of those kills were brutal. A tri-bolt onto the double jump. Timing just so painful for cha1n, and then getting bounced around everywhere. Some kind of maniacal pinball ride. And again, the tri-bolt is so strong here. 60 damage again on the second lot of blasts. And cha1n needs to find a way to get himself on some lights. He sees the spawn. cha1n not being too predictable, going elsewhere to try and find a way to stack up. Knows he has to take a moment over it. And there's a denial. We're going to get a follow-up denial. You know how I like denials, Raph.
Just skating around, looking for openings here. Cracks, wounds that he can do more damage towards. Throws a bit of a spanner into the works with timing there on the pickup of the heavy, so it makes it harder for cha1n to get a read on the situation. Now sprints back over towards the mega spawn. That actually should be his once again for free as well. And this burns a lot of time off the clock, Zoo. We're coming up to the 6 minutes 30 mark as Rapha again grabs the mega and now looks for a fight versus cha1n. cha1n's gonna go down.
I think that cha1n actually played amazing over this last minute. It was all about execution in that last fight, and it was Rapha doing it. I loved, though, how he took so much time making sure he'd get light armors that weren't predictable for Rapha to set traps on. That's very hard to do versus Rapha to find your way back into some semblance of control. But we're getting to that point again where Rapha gets that opening kill and is able to lift the taps on more frags to convert with.
It's like a pixel angle to try and actually get this. But Rapha hoping for the connections. They're both going one apiece.
Okay.
Overstays his welcome, and cha1n will get the kill.
This might be a way for cha1n to get back into some control here. But he has to have more weapons for this. So Mega's going to go over to Rapha. He's got the HMG, I think.
Oh, cha1n's nearly dead.
He hits the rail after Mega's taken. That's quite big news. But it's going to be another major item going to Rapha, so he's like, rail, item, rail, item, rail. And this time it's in the item rotation, so he needs that damage again. I think Tri-Bolt's been the name of the game too for Rapha. That's been saving him in a few situations.
Ooh. The movement coming out to play as he glides his way across. cha1n really going to be a bit upset about this as he's constantly getting chipped away at. He's left with nearly no HP. He has to scavenge whatever he can find to try and give himself a little bit more strength to fight here versus Rapha. 4 frags between them, but the confidence is all in Camp Rapha.
Yeah, and there's a lot of time being killed. The fact that cha1n can't really seem to catch a break. Every time he gets a light armor or something, it's stripped away from him. He has to stack up again, and Rapha, I mean, he's just trying to make amends for what happened in the last map. Picking up the slider medals, and is now on double digits. There should be another one for him. Oh, strange flicks that he gets in the unusual angles. It's gorgeous work from Rapha.
Stopwatch. Impressive.
Rapha, the vulture, as he knows that his prey is weak. He's looking to try and go in and turn cha1n into a carcass, as he wants to finish him with the gauntlet instead. It's the shotgun that will strip him of his mortality.
I want to give a shout out to cha1n though for what a series he's been playing. It's very, very hard to go versus a Slash like this. I think he had such a significant portion of the game where he was playing at a supreme level. So to me, when the game was like 8-4, it was when it made it to 9-4 that's where I was like, okay, it's GG. Now cha1n has to be crazy and has to hope for the best. but it's been a really, really good game where cha1n has given himself a fighting chance for a victory. And he's managed to at least strip away a couple of points from rapha by taking that map win on Vale, which is a map win that a lot of people would never expect to happen because of rapha's prominence on that map.
Well, that's the thing. As a result, that's going to be huge for you to take away and just be like, look, if I'm taking anything out of this series versus rapha, at least I had that. A great moment that you can look at. It also kind of puts a bit of fear into other people and be like, what went right on Vale for him?
Yeah, and it's suddenly like ears perk up. It's like, cha1n can take maps off rapha, not just in practice, now in competition. Next step is take them off in LAN. This is a growing point for cha1n and something that he's certainly needed. He might have done it one other time in Quake Open League, but this would have been time ago.
Right.
And being able to show yourself that this is something that you can now start to possibly do on a regular basis, that's when, you start getting noticed. And I'm sure Team Singularity, cha1n's team, are going to be buzzing for his development.
Oh yeah, you're going to be happy about that. Anytime you get a win versus rapha, that one's going straight on the team social media plays. You know what I mean? You're going to push that out there. You're going to want to tell everyone.
Oh yeah. And cha1n was getting some good kills even on this map. I'm trying to remember the sort of tipping point because he had some good control and this was a nice string of plays that he had, but it kind of got shut down after a while. I think this surely was it. It was that tri-bolt moment. That was the moment right there. And as soon as that happened, cha1n's chances just started to kind of fall, sink, plummet, what have you, you know?
Yeah, it was rough. As soon as rapha kind of got into his true form, absolute dominance was asserted, and it never went away from that point forward. This was such an awkward fight as well from the both of them with the rails.
It was. And cha1n hit so many rails there, and I think rapha was like, why are you still there? I know you're vulnerable. How are you so brave to face me like this? As we all know, rapha's reactions are in his stream. Maybe not quite with so many words.
Well, that is the final result as it is closed down. That's the end of the day as well, Zoot, with that final map being closed out. Yeah, we have. We've actually...
been on a roll.
This is our last one, isn't it? For stage one. For cha1n.
cha1n have started, but not finished. We got another pair of people who will be in next week. But it's been an honor here in Season 1. Yeah, it's been a good time.
It has been beautiful. And we can actually, I believe, have a look at those standings once we have everything updated to delve into them and see how things are starting to rank up, as we do have the NA standings that we can slip straight into and see how it's looking.
Let's do it. rapha up on 44 points. Of course, guys, cha1n did have a bye today, so he wasn't able to plus his points. He doesn't have a bye next week. I think that rapha's got 7 wins, and there's been 9 weeks, so he's already had his second bye week, so we'll get one more match from him too, of course. But cha1n going to try and close up those points. However, cha1n is pretty firmly likely to get himself straight into the quarterfinals, I believe, into next week. But I think our global standings will help us get educated on this. Oh, maybe not, actually. This has become interesting. I don't know what matches are going to necessarily take place, but let's say that Cooler and Razy, they won't be playing each other if they're both going to be up. If they both win 3-0, they might push cha1n out, because Razy would go to 68, would be on the same points as cha1n if he loses his game entirely.
Right.
And they've got more, and Razy's got more frags. So there's an interesting one for you. However, look how close it is with the likes of Venga and Tox too. It's actually total insanity up at the top. But down at the bottom, I've got to make a mark for Effortless. He managed to get himself plus 8 points, putting himself into the 17th spot. He's pretty clear now of any relegation.
Yeah.
It looks like now it's confirmed that Sib and Brick are going to be up for relegation. They might have another game next week, but I think they're the guys who have to prepare themselves for Genic and Dewey.
Yeah, well, That's the way it's starting to shape up at the end of week 9. Of course, there is still one final week before Luca, and this is the last chance saloon. Any points that they can accumulate will have to be then and there, depending on obviously who's on buys as well. So some people's fates might have already been decided at the end of this week, which is quite crazy.
It is scary. I'm not sure who's on a buy next week, but it's kind of nightmarish to sit back and go, oh, what's going to happen? But you can sit back and just start plotting graphs.
Yeah.
Brackets of what's possibly going to happen and already get insight into it while players are preparing for their week 10 matches.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
It's going to be fun. It is going to be fun. It also sets us up for just how exhilarating and exciting Luca's going to be, of course, now having a good idea of pretty much who is probably going to be in relegation, who is probably going to be towards the upper echelons of the incision straight into the deeper run of the tournament, to try and play for that belt that is behind us. It already has Kilson's name on it, and there is still more names to be attached. But in terms of our debut here on Quake Pro League on stage 1, this is it, Zoo. It's our last show.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. I want to give a shout out to our challengers who are going to be present at Luca. Not just all the names you saw on the board. There's going to be Cypher and CNZ. Cypher from Belarus. A load of you guys are going to know Cypher already. CNZ, who deserves a lot of props. Estonian player, really, really powerful. Expect some unbelievable relegation matches in Luca. And also Genic from Canada, who's been rising to fame and glory in the challenges, having won it. Dewey, who everyone's going to recognize from earlier Quake champions, having played under the Maestro banner for a while. Dallas-based boy. He's down in Houston, I want to say. He's in Texas. He's a Texas boy, I'm pretty sure.
Nice.
Dewey, don't hurt me.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
It is.
Is that you done? Is
Yeah,
that
I'm
the,
done.
is that the shout?
I've wrapped up now.
Nice.
Complete.
Okay, we did it. We did it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been an absolute blast here for, of course, just my debut on Quake as well throughout the season, Zoot. Me and you.
I've enjoyed having you around.
I've enjoyed having you around.
You've not bullied me too much.
No?
You've pressured me to understand references that I simply don't.
We're getting there.
And I think
we're getting there.
We got there. We memed it up a bit, and I think that's been a sort of strong suit for us.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Hopefully so. Well, we'll see. If I'm back or if not, we'll figure it out. It'll be one of those. I'll leave you with some fridge magnets or something.
Jackie's nowhere to be seen, guys.
No, unfortunately not. Never coming back. Put in a box. Done forever. But the show is in a box. It's wrapped up. It is like a Christmas present. It was absolutely delicious. I'm so glad to have been here for it. But this is it. Week 9 of Quake Pro League is closed up. From me, from Zoot, from production, from all of you guys in the chat. Thank you so much for watching throughout today's broadcast. Quake Pro League will return one final time for stage 1 next week. You will not want to miss it. This is where everything that's been going on for all these weeks culminates and closes down before Luca. Keep it locked as we'll be back for the final week next week.